Hi there. This is Beth Green, otherwise known as Granny Rocks,
And this is Sweet Baby James, otherwise known as James Maynard.
and tonight I'm going to be talking about a very funny topic, which isn't so funny. It's called Do We Really Want to Do What Works? Mostly not. Well, let's fix that. So, let's see what's going to happen with all of that, and I'm looking forward to our show, but before we get to it,
Welcome to Granny Rocks Our World, where Granny rocks our world every Monday and Wednesday, 6:30 Pacific, with her wit, her wisdom, and her very uncommon sense, which winds up making a lot of sense.
ooh, I like that. Thank
So,
you so much.
over to you, Granny.
Well, through a miracle, we just got the comments up, right?
Yeah, we
So,
did.
hey, we're on our way.
Yes.
Okay. So, you think about, well, doing what works, right? You got a problem. The house is burning, right? So you think, well, what should I do about it? Should I throw corn flour on it, water, call the fire department, whatever it is? So, like, what is going to work in this situation? So that's a very important question. We need to know what's going to work. We need to do it. So now you would think, well, hey, isn't it obvious that we should be doing what works? I mean, is it better to do what works or not what doesn't work, or not to do what works and then the house burns down? Well, you would think it would be simple, but it isn't. And first of all, we have some wonderful hellos already. Elizabeth says hello. Hello, Elizabeth. Tracy says hi, and hi, Tracy.
Hello, hello.
Luann is waving. Hello, Luann.
Wave to you.
So we're all happy. We're so happy to see you. Okay, so if we were really doing what works in our world, the world would look like a different place. We would ask about everything we do. Well, does that work? Does that work? Does that work? Does it really work to cut off women's genitals? Does it really work to oppress half the people and then have them not be able to make a contribution? Does it really work for us not to have health care for people who can infect our children? So, right. We don't do that. Now, the question is why? Okay. In order to get to the bottom of this, we have to look at what we are trying to accomplish. See, you say, okay, what works should mean coming together to evaluate the problems, evaluate the potential solutions, and get busy either doing them or trying them out, right? Well, the first thing that I notice about this, Amy says, hi, Granny,
Hello,
and Sweet
Amy.
Baby James, hello, Amy, is that we may not, in fact, be trying to solve the same problem.
Mm-hmm.
That's a biggie, and I want to start with that, and I want to spend some time with that. I'm going to give you a silly example. Well, it's not silly, really. What are we going to do if we've run out of gas? Well, obviously it's like, well, we're trying to get somewhere, and how are we going to solve this problem? But nah, is that what we try to do? No. First of all, I have to prove that it wasn't my fault that we didn't have enough gas, right? Isn't that the important thing?
That's the first thing. Yeah.
First thing. So my intention isn't to get us where we're going. My intention is to prove that it wasn't my fault. Now, your intention may be to prove that it was my fault. Possibly you really just want to get to Las Vegas. So here's a perfect example of how our intentions are not in alignment. So what we're trying to do is, the problem is that I'm trying to solve is that I'm angry at you and I want to make you look bad. And how am I going to do that? Or the problem may be that you're feeling stupid and you need to prove that it wasn't your fault. And how are you going to do that? So do you see what I'm saying? Now, let's take a look at some other real life situations. The boss calls us in to discuss the business and our profits. He wants to increase his margins, or he wants to increase his sales. Now, why? Maybe he's trying to impress the shareholders. Maybe he's just wanting to make more money for himself. Whatever it is going to impact what he thinks the solution is. If he's trying to impress his shareholders, then he's got to do things that impress shareholders. If he's just trying to impress his wife, then he has to do things like, getting her a diamond bracelet, which means he has to increase sales. You see what I'm saying? Okay, so now, maybe I don't want to increase his business. Helen says, hi, Beth and James. Oh, hi, honey. Well, so good to see you, too. Okay, maybe I want to increase my life expectancy. Oh, Debbie says, hi, James and Beth. Ooh, maybe that means she's staying for a while. Okay, maybe when I say I want to increase my life expectancy, maybe I need to slow down. I need to be under less stress. Well, I'm not really interested in increasing his profit margins. I'm increasing my life expectancy, right? Or my chances of getting a raise or something else. Now, maybe I'm trying to increase my child's college fund. And so his margin, maybe I want to get more money out of the company and he wants to cut my salary because we've got different intentions here. And yet we're not talking about that. We're discussing productivity and profits. This is the unspoken conversation that happens so often. Now, maybe I'm trying to increase the number of days that I can keep working because I'm getting old and I'm getting tired and I can't work at this pace and it's too hard. And so I've got to slow this down for everybody because I don't want to look like I'm sticking out, like there's something wrong with me, right? Maybe I want to just increase my ability to be creative at work and I'm not interested in just your profit margin. Maybe I care about safety. Let's go back to the car. Maybe I'm an auto worker and my children are going to be driving one of these cars and I'm worried about safety, but you're worrying about shareholders. So we come into this meeting and it looks like we're talking about productivity and that kind of thing. Sandra says, hi everyone. Oh, hi Sandra, so good to see you. So you can see that we are at cross purposes, guys. So we're not trying to do what works. We're trying to do what works for us. Now, we have seen this like in Technicolor around climate change. You want to increase your profits and you really don't care about the well-being of the orangutan. Or REA says, hi Beth and James, hi REA. Or you don't care about whether or not my child is breathing clean air, or you may not be caring about how many people in Ohio and Pennsylvania are getting cancer. You may not care about that because what works for you is increasing your profits. It's a little narrow-minded, a little short-sighted. Nevertheless, that is what you're thinking is going to work, right? Now, maybe I want to breathe. Whoa! Now now let's talk about another aspect of this climate change thing. Supposing I'm a public servant and I want to get reelected, and I want to do that by defending my having ignored climate change for 20 years. So I have to prove that it's not so bad, it's not human, it's not this, it's not that. I'm not interested in solving the problem of climate change, which becomes a greater crisis every day. Or I may be trying to show that I am an advocate of climate change so that I can get elected. I don't want to get together with you, who's the opposition, because I don't want you to get any advantage from doing this since I really want to win the election against you. We have no incentive to cooperate. How the heck are we ever going to solve the problems of climate change if we don't get on the same page about this, okay? This is not a joke. So from the smallest level to the largest level, this is what happens. Very few of us are really trying to figure out what's going to work. And then if we do, we have to the Democratic solution, so the Green solution, so the radical solution, so the conservative solution, so that solution. I don't care about that. I want workable solutions. Let's see what might work. Now, sometimes our intentions, because the examples that I've been giving you have to do with specific arenas like profits or climate change. Sometimes our intentions have nothing to do with anything specific. All I want to do is prove that I'm right. Anybody identify with that? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Or I want to prove that you're wrong. Or I want to prove that I'm not wrong. and that you're not right. I mean, isn't this kind of ridiculous? But this is actually the way it is so often. You know, our children are having problems. They're addicted. They're not doing well. Now, I'm going to get in there and I'm going to try to prove that it's because we have been listening to your mother about how to raise our children or whatever it is. And then we're fighting about your mother and we're not even looking at the child. I mean, can you identify? I would like you to raise your hand even though I'm not going to see it. If you can identify with this.
Okay.
We might be trying to prove that Trump is corrupt. Or you might be trying to prove that Trump is our savior. I might be trying to prove that I don't need your help.
Oh, that came up today, didn't it?
It did. Or you may be trying to prove that, or I may be trying to prove that you do need my help. I might be trying to prove that I'm not impaired and therefore I don't need anyone's help. Come on, have we seen this over and over and over and over? Now, how can we come together to see what works when we are trying to get a different what works? See, what works for me and my ego, what works for me and my pocketbook, what works for me and my children, what works for me and my health, what works for me and my friends, and my ability to have a standing in the community, to get elected, whatever, right? Now, here are some big things that are like this. We sometimes are trying to prove something like really personal, like my mother isn't right. I want to absolutely make sure that everybody knows that my mother isn't right and never was. Or I may be trying to prove that my mother was right. But it may be something even more extensive than that. It's like we might be trying to prove that this economic system is the best we can have. Or we may be trying to prove that this economic system sucks. So we're not going to look at issues like climate change or even income inequality or, homelessness and be neutral about, well, what's going to work, because we have a vested interest. Amy said, I love this discussion. Having different problems we want to solve without saying so is everywhere, whether within a family or entire countries. Exactly. I am certainly about what works for me most of the time. Thank you, Amy, for sharing that honest comment. So, how are we going to deal with huge issues like healthcare costs and poor outcomes, medical outcomes, when we're either trying to prove that the system works or it doesn't work, or that we should keep it this, or we should keep Obamacare, or we should dismantle Obamacare? It's like, well, wait a minute. Have we actually sat down and said, okay, let's start from scratch. What do you think would actually help us to deliver good, quality, affordable health care to everyone in our nation, at least, not to speak in the world? I don't hear that, do you? Getting more for me, getting more money for us, getting more status for us, getting more power, 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 power. If we had a president that I agreed with, I'd probably feel like, well, he has a little latitude. If we have a president that I don't agree with, then I'm really on him, like flies on honey, looking for where is he tripped up last. How can we fix anything if we can't get beyond polarization? And how can we get beyond polarization when we are polarizing around the problems that we are trying to fix, as Amy said? So how do we fix this? Whoa. First of all, we come to grow. And we look at ourselves and we get real and honest about what we are trying to accomplish in our lives, in the moment, in our relationships, with our social communities, at work, in our communities, and so on. Let's get real and honest If you think that's a good idea, why don't you give this a love? Let's go on to the question, what would be for the highest good of all? And then how are we going to have that happen without having to prove that, oh no, you can't do that. That's impossible. I mean, you can't change City Hall, and then we have to prove that you can't change City Hall. Or that this is better. Oh, I see some likes and wows and mows. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you. I wanted to see that because everybody's kind of quiet tonight. Well, how could you not be quiet? I haven't stopped talking. Amy says, I certainly spend my time complaining about the poor health care system, the poor health system of patients I see, and blame it on Trump, of course, right, like it started with him. I become angry and I don't look into what might work. I love that. You see, that's the kind of honesty we need. And then we need to put aside our pride and our personal interests and start asking the question in every situation. And we have to put on blinders regarding labels. Oh, is this a Republican suggestion or a Democratic suggestion or an independent, a libertarian or a communist or a socialist or forget the labels. Let's look at, oh gee, I just read about a bill about climate change that had bipartisan support, except the one Republican who was supporting it is now retiring. So, that's gone. So, if we could just face how dire our problems are, and then we ask ourselves, what's more important, proving X or Y about ourselves or our party, or delivering health care, or helping turn around climate change? Did you hear Venice is underwater? It's flooding. Climate change, climate change, climate change. Australia's been burning up. Climate change, climate change. What climate? There's no climate change. Okay, so this is it. We have to stop labeling things and deciding what our position is based on that. And I'm going to give you one more example. I think I'm only going to give you one more example, but with me, I never know. Tonight, before I came in here, there was something going on personally between me and sweet baby James. And he was really mad at me for something. And I had to look at the question, is my approach working? I actually dared myself to ask that question. And so I evaluated his response, and I thought, this does not seem to be working. And it upset me because I don't like to be alienated from my honey, right? And then I had another thought, because then you would think, well, I should change my approach, right? Well, that's a possibility. But something else came to mind. What about dealing with the fact that I'm so upset by the fact that he's upset with me? Is it working for me to get upset when he's upset?
No.
No. So I had several things to look at, right? It's like, is the thing that I'm trying here working? And if not, is there anything better that I could do? Or is there another issue that I could deal with, which is, why is it working for me to get this upset? And I decided to get happy. And the miracle was that I got happy and I came out like in a spunky, funky mood, because I knew I was going to talk about this. And he acknowledged what was going on for him, and I hadn't even said a word. Now, isn't that the kind of miracle we need on our planet today? The miracle of everybody looking within, asking the questions. I am challenging you in a good way, in a loving and supportive way. Maybe I should say I'm supporting you to take a day, tomorrow, an hour, an afternoon, anything, and look at what you're doing and saying, does this work? What would working look like? What would it even look like for something to work? And see what you don't discover about yourself, and see if some patterns start shaking loose, and if your life starts working better. So I think that's all I should say.
There's another comment, by the way,
Oh,
from Amy.
it would be great if candidates, oh, this is from Amy, it would be great if candidates were discussing what might work to make healthcare available to all instead of trying to prove why it can't be paid for. Bravo, Amy. Amy is a doctor. And so she's really in there. What if candidates were willing to look for how such a goal could work? I love it. I love it. I love it. We can do this, guys, because if we don't start doing what works, what we're left with is what doesn't. So please like the show or love it. Please put in your comment. I will answer it later tonight or whenever I see your comment. And please share this with others, because we all need to start looking at these questions, don't we?
Yep.
So tomorrow night is Thursday, which means Dreams of Peace improvisational piano. And come back to our Facebook page at 7 o'clock Pacific time, and I'm going to play the piano for you, because that works for some people. Makes them feel better, gives them strength.
Makes me feel better.
And it makes me feel better too. So there it is. Please do it. Anything else?
Oh, this is great. Notice what isn't working and take corrective action.
Right. Or just even
Do
walk,
stuff that works.
even look at everything without even saying, oh, this isn't working. Just say, is this working? Is this working? Is this the best? Is this the... Because, you know, we're just saying, oh, I'm waiting. I'm glad you said that, honey. Because if I'm waiting for something that obviously doesn't work, I don't want to wait until the tires fall off the car before I notice that the way I'm driving isn't helping. So there it is. That's life, right? Okay, guys. Mwah. We love you, and we look forward to seeing you again very, very soon.
Bye-bye for now.
Bye-bye.